ago and went through the process of determining whether we continued to need that many locations. And just because we are so spread out and we are covering so much territory, the determination at that time was it was still reasonable to continue to have 8 locations. So now with the House file and everything else that we're looking at moving forward, that's on the table as far as if we continue to have that many facilities. And, you know, as we discussed, we're going to pay expense in rent, or we're probably going to pay expense in mileage and having our people travel to reach those schools and provide the services. So that is something we are looking at moving forward. But that's just a little visual of the area that we cover.
When Michelle's on the screen, you can tell large territory, Minnesota border down to Jefferson. Our largest school district is Fort Dodge, so our largest is not that large, 5,000 students. Yeah.
And then again, we have similar capital assets as the other AEAs because of owning the 3 buildings, and we have some land obviously that goes with that. 3 vehicles, 2 of those are van service delivery vans, and then we have 1 for our maintenance person who does obviously maintain those 8 facilities. Creative services, obviously print production equipment there. And I don't know if Northwest AEA shared this in their presentation, but Prairie Lakes and Northwest AEA we do have a sharing agreement. We just moved our lending library materials out of our Pocahontas facility, and we've relocated all of those in their Sioux City building. So they're maintaining all of our lending library items through that sharing agreement. And so right now we just have minimal things that we still have on site. But again, we're working together between the 2 AEAs to get those items delivered to not only their districts, but our districts through the vans. So
Knock on wood, I have yet to receive one complaint that materials are slower than before. I think we're doing a good job getting them out of Sioux City to our people as quickly as we can.
So, and then I did my slides a little bit different than some of the other AEAs. When we originally had our presentation due the first time, we obviously prepared the slides based on our proposed budget, based on the Department of Management figures that we received in January. So all of these figures, the controlled funding figures, are based on the 0% SSA and the 7.5 million statutory reduction. I'm going to kind of whip past these and get to the revised ones and then speak a little bit deeper for you on those. So the expenditures, again, my way of preparing this in January when we're 6 months out from what reality is going to be for our AEA. Obviously, look at what our expenditures were for the previous year, and then I typically bump them up 2 to 3%, just knowing with package increases. We try to keep our package increases for our staff. Whatever SSA ends up being for that year, that's where we land for package increases for our staff. So this would be representative of 2 to 3% increases in the expenditures from 2000 fiscal year 23. So again, we're going to see this slide again in just a little bit. This was the original information that was a part of our 3-year budget proposal that we published in the newspaper. And I will keep moving past this. And then this slide is representative of the revisions that we made in regards to the House File 2612 being passed, or not officially passed, but revised for the 60% of the ed service and media control funding going to our district. So that resulted in about 2.5 million to my sheet. Yeah, about 2.5 million reduction in the taxes for our AEA. So that now will funnel to the district directly. The other thing that was changed was teacher quality professional development funds were reduced. So that was another 148,000. For our AEA, the Family Educator Partnership Grant was reduced, and that was 106,000. So all of that has been taken into consideration with these revised figures. And obviously, this isn't the final numbers either, because now that the legislation has ended and the cut or the reduction, whatever term you want to use, ended up being 32.5 million for the system. And that overall effect from our proposed budget, which started out at 28 million, will end up being 24 million. So for our AEA, we'll see a reduction of $4 million from where we started in January to where we're ending up now that things are done and settled. So again, the expenditures, I just adjusted these slightly from the original slide. And the things that I took out of there was obviously our teacher quality professional development expenditures. So I removed those. I removed our FEP expenditures, and I made any other adjustments than that. Oh, and we also, our agency had applied 3 years ago for a federal grant for mental health awareness training. And that was a 5-year commitment, and we were receiving $125,000 a year for that. Both of the staff who are overseeing that and implementing that have resigned now, given us resignations for the upcoming school year. So we have just relinquished our last 2 years of that grant, knowing that moving forward, we're not going to have that staff in place to administer it. So I also took that out of my expenditures, my adjustments. So and then our fund balance, from the first slide of the fund balance to this slide, you will see that the fiscal year 25 has been reduced. And I'm currently reducing that by the difference between the 60% that we're no longer going to get for EdServ and media, and then those other adjustments for teacher salary and PQ and that. So it nets out to about 2.1 million that I am reflecting our fund balance to go down for fiscal year 25. We're being super conservative in thinking maybe we're not going to see any of that 60% come back into our AEA just by virtue of we do have our customers rural, and our rural districts are really trying to figure out how to balance the salary increases for the teachers and where they spend that money. So we don't have any firm commitments from our districts that they're going to turn around and send that whole 60% back with us. So right now, I'm just estimating that we won't see that. And so we'll have to absorb that 4 million through our fund balance plus attrition. As I said, we started our year with 241 staff. We're up to 45 resignations since January 1st or January 9th, I should say, when that state of the state was hit the news. So anyway, between staffing and funding cuts, our fund balance might not go down that much because obviously we probably won't be able to replace all of those positions. Just again, we were kind of struggling with hiring before all this happened. So hopefully we'll get a few of those positions refilled, but and I think that's all I had, unless you have any questions regarding my line item budget.
Go back to the last slide.
I sure can. Yep.
It seems like you have a lot of, yes, balance above your total balance is quite a bit higher than your unassigned. Do you have set aside money for something or?
Yes, within our current 6.8 million. I did have 1.2 set aside for facilities. And again, that facility plan laid it out that we were gonna do some updates with our facilities over a 3-year period. And like some of the other A's were saying, we're on pause with that. Probably that will happen now. And then we'll free those dollars back up to also just kind of help offset our shortages with the reduction. So
Yeah, so that was 1.2. Are there other things that are unassigned?
the other thing that would be in there in committed right now would be some funds set aside for early retirement. Again, AEAs, we don't receive a management fund. We don't have a management fund available to us or Pebble where the facility stuff would be coming from. So every year our board has the opportunity to approve an early retirement package for our staff. So at the end of the year, we do an estimate of if they should do that, how many staff would that affect, that cost. And so we set that aside in a committed balance as well. So again, knowing that's probably not going to happen in the future, we have some of those dollars too that will free back up and help offset our expenditures moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
Even with this conservative approach, are you able to meet the needs of the students in your area with this budget?
The goal is always to meet the need. Obviously.
I mean, how realistic?
Yeah, how realistic? The realistic part is, can we make sure we have the personnel to do it? Not necessarily the funds, but the personnel. Right now, although some of the districts who have taken some of our people, you know, they're being very gracious and say, you know, if you need us to hire that, or you need them for a day or two, or want to split a contract with us, we're having those conversations. So before, and we did the same thing prior, if we took one of their good people and they were short and couldn't find it, if you want them back a day a week, we worked out agreements like that. So now it's maybe a little more of the reverse of now I'm asking them to work out the agreements with us to help, you know, fill all those positions. Yeah, I'd love to say 100% dang right, we're going to do it. It's our goal. We're going to work as hard as we can to get there. Can't sign it in blood yet because I got people to fill, the positions to fill yet.
Thank you.
Other questions for the Prairie Lakes team?
What about the 60% coming back? I know you budgeted 0 for that. Do you have a sort of a aspirational hope and a realistic hope besides 0?
Yeah, I mean, again, Dan has began those conversations. We've all been meeting with our superintendents. We recently did a survey to them, just asking, you know, can you tell us of your 60%, how much you anticipate want to spend with our agency and what types of services are you wanting from the agency? We're going through that feedback now
And I met with them, a lot of them this week. They're still really hung up on the salary piece of the teacher and how they're going to do that. I mean, that's on their mind first because some of them haven't settled contracts yet. So as much as they'd like to give us an answer, this is where their mind is right now.
You probably want to know the cost too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting to hear the discrepancy in funding from some districts to offset that to others within our own agency.
That's an interesting puzzle for those superintendents.
Exactly.
yeah.
Hearing that there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Would you approve Prairie Lakes in your budget presented?
Then be by Nathan,
Second.
second by Cass. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
All right. Last item on the agenda is the revision of Iowa academic standards for mathematics.
I was told there'd be no math.
Where does that come from?
It's a movie. It's a movie. Yeah. It's probably a movie I don't want to say I watched
All right.
over and over and over.
I'll go give you an example of that.
It's all.
Caddyshack.
Okay,
Good afternoon. I'm Jody Vanderloo. I am the elementary math consultant with the Iowa Department of Education.
And I'm April Forza, K-12 consultant at the department as well. Max.
April and I are pleased to be back with you again this month for the next phase in the revision process of the Iowa Academics for Mathematics. As you recall, we were here with you last month at the meeting and gave an overview of the revision process. That initial phase involved 40 plus teachers, administrators, ADA consultants, parents, and community members that worked together to revise the existing standards. And then that revised document went out for public feedback, which included a survey, online survey, public in-person public listening sessions, and then online focus group discussions. And then following that feedback period, another team convened consisting of 23 educators, administrators, AE consultants, parents, and community members that finalized the proposed document that was presented to you last month on March 21st at your state board meeting.
And there was little additional feedback since the last board meeting or since the last meeting. The only changes to the document were editing and formatting. There have been no changes to the content of the standards. For professional development, we have over 400 educators who have already registered for our online sessions that we will have that will be virtual in May and June. And then we will have deeper dives where we will have in-person sessions beginning at the end of July and beginning of August. And we haven't opened that up yet for registration, but with today's adoption, we'll move forward on that. Therefore, we are here for the final steps in the process and ask for you to, for an approval vote to enact the 2024 Iowa Academic Standards for Mathematics.
any questions for April or Jody?
I'd just add that this team has done incredible work through a very robust process that you'll see replicated in our ELA standards next month. And some of the core updates around new standards for statistics and probability for pre-calc and calc and the math course pathways have been well received by the field. They're already making a big impact on high quality instruction, supported by the professional learning that they'll be engaging with over the summer. So we're excited about this opportunity and appreciate the board's deep dive and consideration of the standards.
I was impressed last month, so I'm ready to make a motion to approve.
All right. Motion
And adopt
by
the
Mary
standards,
to
yes.
approve the standards,
I'll second.
second by Nathan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Standards are approved.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's exciting for the students in Iowa. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
And so we have a board member who's our last meeting. Nathan was with us for a lot shorter than we wanted him to, but we understand his professional experiences have led him a different direction. So thank you so very much for your time on the board. We wish it would have been longer, but we certainly understand and we appreciate the insight and the lens that you brought to the discussions. You're a valuable member for us. So we wish you
Thanks.
nothing but the best.
Thank you very
And
much.
there's a little goodie bag.
That was hilarious.
All right, thank you all. It's been fantastic. It's been a great experience. To serve.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nothing but the best. And with that, we are adjourned. And we're good time.
Good work.